Alright, today during RAP we're going to be talking about the Pythagorean theorem. Remember that the formula for the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are called the legs or the bases, and c is referred to as the hypotenuse. The legs and the bases are the two sides that actually form the right angle, and the hypotenuse is the long diagonal side. So I'm going to work through one problem with you, let you try the second one, come back, go over that, and then allow you to work on the rest of them on your own. So looking at the first one here, apparently my diagram shifted a little bit. It's not going to let me move the triangle, but if I redraw it, it would look something like that. So A is going to be 7. B will be 24, and I'm looking for C. I'm looking for that X piece. So I do want you to write the formula down. So it's going to be 7 squared plus 24 squared. Let me write that a little bit better. Plus 24 squared equaling C squared. On the left-hand side, we're now going to work out the math. 7 squared is 49. 24 squared is 576, equaling C squared. Add the 49 and the 50 and the 576, and I get 625 equals C squared. If you remember from our square root unit, in order to get rid of that exponent of 2, we're going to square root each side. So we're going to square root 625, and we get x equaling 25, or c equaling 25 as our missing side. I'd like you to try problem 2 over here on the side. Here I am giving you A and C, you're missing B. So you're going to have to do a little bit of subtraction with this one, but the overall process should stay the same. So a few minutes to try that one. Now that you've had the chance to look at number 2, we're going to go ahead and go over it. So I have 12 squared plus b squared equaling 18 squared. Again, go ahead and set up the problem. So 144 plus b squared equals 18 squared, which is 324. I need to get the b squared by itself, so I'm going to add negative 144 to each side of my equation. And that gives me b squared equaling 180. I'm going to square root each side. And when I square root 180, I get b equaling 13.4. You're going to round to the tens place, or one number past the decimal point. So at this point, your teacher is going to pause the video. I'd like you to go through the remainder of the problems on your own. And then when it looks like everybody's about finished, the teacher will play the video again, and I'll go over the rest of the answers with you. So now that you've had a chance to continue working on these, I'm going to go ahead and go over these. Again, for some reason, some of my stuff shifted around. So the 50 and the 51 are actually problem 4 on your paper. I'm going to be starting and looking at the 2, the 6, and the question mark. So I have 2 squared plus 6 squared equals x squared, or c squared. So 4 plus 36 equals x squared. 40 equals x squared. Square root, and the square root of 40 is 6.3. Same thing for problem 4, except this time we're looking for a. So x squared plus 50 squared equals 51 squared. So x squared plus 2500 equals 2601. Subtract 2500 or add negative to each side. You can get x squared equaling 101. Square root, square root. And I get x, or the a side, equaling, it's actually going to be 10.0, because it's 10.04 on the calculator, and the 4 is not high enough to bump that 0 in the tens place up to 1. Determine if these form a right triangle. Basically, you're just going to plug it into the equation and see if both sides match. So in the first one, again, the 12 and the 15 go over with problem 7. So a squared plus 15 squared needs to equal 17 squared. A squared we know is 64. 15 squared is 225. I need that to equal 17 squared, which is 289. I'm going to add the 64 and the 225, and I get 289. So since the two sides match, we go ahead and we say yes, these do form a right triangle. Problem 6, same sort of thing. This is going to be 20 squared plus 21 squared equaling 28 squared. 21 squared is, I need to do 20 squared first. 20 squared is 400. 21 squared is 441. And 28 squared is 784. You can probably tell just by looking at these, but I'm going to get 841 on the left-hand side and 784 on the right. So no, these do not form a right triangle. Last one, 7. I have 9, 12, and 15. So 9 squared plus 12 squared needs to equal 15 squared. So 81 plus 144 needs to equal 225. 81 plus 144 does in fact equal 225. So yes, these do form a right triangle. And you do need to put yes or no, because that is what the question is asking. Problem 8, we have a word problem here. Easiest way to do a word problem is going to be to draw a picture. All right. So we have a utility pole that is 10 yards tall. So there's my utility pole, it's 10 yards tall. A support wire normally comes down to the side. And the support wire is going to be 12 yards long. We're looking for this base distance, or how far will the wire be from the base of the pole. So x squared plus 10 squared equals 12 squared. X squared plus 100 equals 144. Add negative 100 to each side. X squared equals 44. Square root each side. And when I square root 44, I get x equaling 6.6 yards. We do need a label. Please make sure you remember to label your answers. 2 more here. Still the word problems. So we haven't, that should be an access ramp. Has a height of 5 feet and a horizontal distance of 60 feet. Find the length of the access ramp. So we have a height of 5 feet. We have a bottom distance of 60 feet. We're looking for the actual distance of the slanted piece or the ramp. So 5 squared plus 60 squared equals x squared. 25 plus 3,600 equals x squared. 3,625 equals x squared. square root, square root. When I square root 3,625, I get, where can I write it? There we go. X equaling 60.2, and again I need my label, so that's going to be feet. Laddered problem is really a traditional kind of Pythagorean theorem problem. So we have a 20-foot ladder, and this 20-foot ladder is being leaned up against a building. So there's my 20-foot ladder being leaned up against the building. The base is 5 feet from the building. I want to know how high up the building or the wall the ladder would reach. So x squared plus 5 squared needs to equal 20 squared. X squared plus 25 needs to equal 400. I'm going to add negative 25 to each side. And x squared equals 375 square root. And I get the ladder being roughly 19.4 feet up the wall. So again, this was just a basic review of the Pythagorean theorem. If you have any questions at all about the Pythagorean theorem, please make sure that you stop by and see me when you have a chance.